Hey Tundra owners, this is Coachbuilder 1, and we're going to install some extreme duty shackles. Big beefy shackles that I built and I manufacture for anybody that needs any. I've got a set that's a +3, which is 3 inches longer than factory, and a set that's +2 down here, 2 inches longer than factory. So I'm going to pan around and show the truck. The truck's up on jack stands in the rear. And I'll come around. You can see the front wheels that are chalked, and I want to show the jack stand position. So follow me, camera, and I'll point it out. Underneath the rear doors, there's a rivet right here on the frame rail. You can see the frame rail's nice and straight. Right before it comes up in front where the leaf spring mounts, it's still flat right there. You want to set the jack stands back far enough, but you don't want to put it on any place that there's an angle or a curve in the frame rail. You don't want it to slip on you. So go ahead, stick it right there in front of this. You can also see this body mount reinforcement, but that rivet right there, set them up high enough that your rear axle is going to hang, and if your tires are too big, 35, 37, 38 or bigger, you want to go ahead and pull those off. So I went ahead and pulled them off. We're going to show down here. Pulled the rear wheels off to get a little bit better of a camera angle. I also pulled the rear shocks off. We're going to do more of the suspension today, but for this little segment, I wanted to get a little bit better and a cleaner shot on the video. And even though the truck is sitting on jack stands, I want to make sure that this jack is underneath the center pumpkin of the axle, and I want to be sure that it's taking weight. So you can see it wasn't taking weight. I'm just going to snug it up there, and I'll show you what that'll do. Also, I wanted to point out that I removed the spare tire ahead of time. Okay, we're going to take off the factory nuts, 19 millimeter. I've already got this one loosened up, so we're going to take off the nut in the washer. You gotta come up and take off the top nut. And keep in mind, the jack has total control of the rear axle. Nothing's gonna come down. I'm gonna take off the washer if I can get up in there. Okay. Going to do the same thing on the other side. Remove the nut in the washer up on the top of the frame rail. Another thing that's kind of tricky on these is the bolts or the factory studs that are in these shackles are pressed in, and a lot of guys I think want to take a bolt out at a time, and it's not going to be very easy. So I'll grab a pry bar and I'll show you how to get these out real easy. We're going to go ahead and pull the factory shackle out. We've got the outer leg pulled off, pulled the outer leg off. Our jack is what controls the tension on this, and so we want to snug it up just enough that we can see, look at that, there's no tension on that leaf spring. So we're just going to, that's about as easy as it gets. So I would about guarantee, normally it's not going to slide out that easy. That just is simple. We're going to move along to the other side and pull that side out. And there it goes. You can see that. When you get in there, you can see how if the jack stand is positioned, or if the jack is positioned right, there's no tension on those rear leaf springs and on the shackles. So I pulled that out. We are ready to install the bigger shackles. I want to show you the difference real quick. You can tell an obvious difference on the material that's used. It's a lot stronger, and you'll actually notice an improved ride because of the increased rigidity of the design. And so what we're going to do is we're going to install a set of +3s. let's get the new ones installed. I've got a set of +3s I use for mock-up, and we're going to, you can see they're the same length as these. We'll get these installed and you can get an idea how easy they go together. So let's try this. You can see the difference of the factory shackles came out. What we're going to do is we're going to take this jack and we're just going to lower it down, get this leaf spring out of the way, and stop there. Be sure to take a look and just notice the position of your brake lines, the hoses, that you don't overextend them. It's easy to do. You can drop that axle down a little bit too far, and you don't want to either stretch your brake line or ruin anything. So go ahead and install the new shackle. I'm going to slide it up into place and get this new bolt that comes supplied with the shackles. Sometimes it's hard to see up in there, so I'm just going to use a small punch and fill the hole, and then I'm going to be able to line it up, and it just helps to get the bolt in place. I'm going to go ahead and stick the washer and nut on. Keep in mind we're just going to finger tighten the nuts until everything's installed, and then we'll put a load on the rear leaf springs, and then we'll torque everything down. So we're going to go ahead and get the other side. We got this side installed, and the bolt and nut is just loose, so you can move it back and forth pretty easy. I'm going to use the jack once again to align the leaf spring. So I'm just going to go through. I'm going to stick my washer and nut on. We're going to move on to the other side. Do the same thing there. You can see sometimes, even though that side's the passenger side's connected, this leaf sits a little bit lower. So we're going to just use the jack. Use the jack to help us out. Gotta get my bolt. Okay, now that all 4 bolts are in place, washers and nuts are in place, I'm going to go ahead and jack up on the jack of the rear axle, and just until it takes the weight of the truck, I'm going to stop. And so I'm just going to go up, and we're right there, just barely coming off the jack stands, and I'm going to use a torque wrench, and I'm going to torque these at 90 foot-pounds. So that's basically it. You're going to torque the nuts to 90 foot-pounds, and you're done. If you